Okay, so we are now there. We have started our session. I want to welcome each and everyone for this session. And today is day number 5 of the 7-day virtual workshop for teachers on demystifying the new curriculum. And today we are going to be looking at activity of integration. And many of us actually as teachers, this is something that we are going to be doing every term. It is one thing that is going to be one thing that we shall be asked to do by our doses. So we need to understand it very well. How do we create our activities of integration? This training is organized by the ICT Teachers Association of Uganda in conjunction with senior1.org, which is an online e-learning platform targeting senior ones during this period of COVID and even after. Yeah, so they are mobilizing and connecting teachers to create resources and teach learners. And we are very glad that this is possible. We also have other partners, Zoom and ProAvi, who have supported us. We have been a number of facilitators. We have Mr. Kasule Bernard, who is one of the master trainers whom we have been working with, and other facilitators who normally join us. Okay, so I believe you can hear me very well, and I'm glad. I'm Rogers Mukalire. I'm the facilitator for today. Teaching is my calling since 2009. I've taught in a number of schools, and right now I'm teaching with Makerere University Jinja campus as an instructor for the diploma students. And also I'm the national coordinator for ICT Teachers Association since 2018, before the lockdown. We have a platform called Shareability Uganda, where we normally put resources, and even right now there are some activities of integration there that I'm going to refer you to. I've been privileged to work with NCDC in a number of trainings. I've at least had more than 5 trainings since 2020 when we had the rollout of the curriculum. I had a training and also went and trained in 3 centers. So what we are sharing here, at least we have been sharing about it. This session, we are going to be looking at why the end of chapter assessment is done, and we should be able to generate an end of chapter activity of integration. That is something that we should do. We could look at a chapter and then we see whether we can generate one. Okay. So I'm going to start with a small introduction here. So we looked at, so here it is saying that a competence-based assessment approach focuses on 1, what the individual learner can do rather than what he or she knows. So competency, we have been looking at the first sessions. We are not looking at knowledge only, but we are also looking at what the skills, what the learners can do as a competence. And here in the new curriculum, we are looking at application of knowledge. Application of knowledge, what has been learned in a range of situations. And also, we are looking at recognizing the achievements made by the learner, however small they may be. So the achievements made by the learner, however small they may be. One thing that you will note in the new curriculum is that we don't give a 0 when we are scoring learners. The minimum is a 1. That is level 1, means a learner at level 1. So we are going to be looking at those levels as we proceed. So however much little a learner has done, we should be able to appreciate. We cannot say a learner is 0 unless if the learner never came to school, and so it should not be part of the, should have a dash, not a 0. But if a learner came to school, then is not a 0. So we need to recognize that. So we are going to first have some understanding of activity of integration. I have some activity here. And what do you understand by activity of integration? What is the purpose of activity of integration and the differences and similarities of activity of integration in regard to the current school-based summative assessment? So in the current school-based summative assessment, the learners are given exams at the end of the term. Those exams summarize whatever the teacher has taught, and the learner get a mark out of 100 in that particular subject. How different is it going to be in the new curriculum? That's the question. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to have, we are going to have two groups. We are going to have this as a breakaway session. We are going to, I want to first understand what you people know. What do you know about activity of integration and how different? We are comparing it different from the current end of term exams and the activity of integration in the new curriculum. Okay, based on that background. Yeah, so in the new curriculum trainings, we should not just come and we just tell you things. We should at least try to first get to know what you know. That is assessment of learning. Get to know what you know and then build on that to harmonize and clarify on a few things. Okay, so meanwhile, before we continue, this time I think before more than ever, I want to give a chance to the teachers here. You mention your name, the subject you teach, and the school. I'm giving this chance to the teachers here so that if you fail to unmute, then you miss the chance. I'm going to start from down here. Mr. Adrabo Atiku Robert. When I call your name, please just be ready to unmute. If you delay, then you miss the chance. You just tell us your name and the school where you teach, whether you have ever taught senior one, or it is going to be the first time in 2022. Mr. Adrabo?
My name is Adrabo Atiku Robert, as you have mentioned there. Yes, I teach in St. Joseph's College, Ombati. I guess you want answers to the activity you have put here. The brainstorming.
Just tell us your name. Just tell us your name.
My name is Adrabo Atiku Robert.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Agawa Hilary.
Please. Okay, my name is Agawa Hilary. I teach at URDT Girls School, ICT and Geography.
Okay, you're welcome. Miss Bagaya Victoria. Victoria Bagaya Lulava.
Yes, my name is Miss Bagaya. My name is Victor Bagaya Lulaba. I'm a teacher in Mbale Secondary School. Thank you so much for this initiative.
Thank you. Mr. Angoda Emmanuel. Mr. Angoda Emmanuel. Okay, let us have Grace Akwango.
Grace Akwango from Busia, Mwembe. Yes, glad to join you in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Happy Immaculate. Jerome Halemimana.
Hello, I'm Jerome Halemimana, chemistry biology from Kahinju.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Katusale Jackson.
Katusime Jackson from Masindi Kinyara Secondary School. I'm sorry I've joined in late. I've been occupied somewhere.
Thank you. Kevin Onjiros.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, dear colleagues. I'm Miss Kebirungi Rose, St. Kalemba Vera Maria, Kalungu District. I teach entrepreneurship and ICT.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Chigongo Edward.
Chigongo Edward. I teach at St. Bruno SS Kamengo, Mpiji, biology and chemistry.
Thank you. Kevin Onjiros, are you through? There is Chualabie.
I'm through.
Chualabie.
Yes, Mr. Rogers, good evening. I'm Chualabie Kamada, teaching same secondary school physics mathematics in Mitiana. I'm with a group of teachers here.
Okay, you're welcome. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Hey, how many you are converged to learn? Thank you very much. I know many teachers. Okay, thank you. Greetings to them. Namkisa Babra.
Good evening, teachers. My name is Namkisa Babra, a teacher of English and Literature from St. Andrew Kagwa Secondary.
Okay, thank you. Njabire Peter.
Yes, my name is Njabire Peter, teacher of ICT Math with CSS.
Okay, welcome. Solomon Asia.
Yes, I'm Solomon Asea. I teach geography at St. Mary's College Kisubi, and I also have been teaching senior ones. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tumwine Amos. Okay, there is a colleague who has taken up pop. I don't know which name, and I see you don't have a microphone on. If there is someone who has not, whom I've left out, you have a chance in 1 minute, and we proceed. Today, normally we have not been doing this, but today I thought it wise that
Namukisa Barbara hasn't spoken to us.
I think I've introduced myself as a teacher from St. Andrew Kagwa Senior Secondary School in Nwiri.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to choose, we are going to quickly discuss this. We are going to have, I have some samples of activities of integration, which we shall discuss. Yeah, but I want to first capture your idea, what do you think about this? And I'm going to get, I'm seeing the members here whose mics are open. Mr. Njavile Peter. Mr. Njavile Peter. And who, there's a lady who's I want a lady whose sound was bright. Bashave Justin. Are you there? Okay. Are you able to unmute Justin or Rose?
Yes, I'm around.
Okay, so Rose, you are going to be I'm making you a co-host as well. You're going to be leader for group 2. So we are going to have 2 groups only.
Thank you.
And one, we are comparing the old curriculum where learners have been buying pamphlets, they cram, even if they don't come for your lessons, it doesn't matter, so long as they can get 90% in mathematics. So long as they can learn that East African history, so long as they cram that pamphlet, they come and they get 90, even if they never attended lessons. And the new competency-based curriculum, where we are going to be looking at skills and competencies and assessing at the end of every chapter. I think I'm cheating for your exams, but what do you understand by activity of integration, purpose and the similarities and differences between these? So you raise those points. Then when you come back, I'll be harmonizing these ideas. So like the way I've already assigned, let me pass it. I'm going to open here the groups. Okay, so I'm going to open the groups here. So you can be able to choose a room, and you can be able to have that. Okay, Mr. Njabire, you're going to be in group number 1, and then Madame Rose, you're going to be in group number 2. Okay. Okay, so please members, you join the groups, go where there is breakaway, or when you get the invitation, you join there. Let us discuss this quickly, then we come back and look at some of these, and we are going to see how do we create an activity of integration in line with the new curriculum.
Recording in progress.
Chapters, competencies that the learners have been able to get, and also learning.
the old Telegram way I'm used to it. Thank you. That's my view.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the network is poor, but are we getting a secretary who is ready? So that we can jot down at least some few points.
Oh, yes, my friend. For me, what I understand by the activity of integration, it is an activity that is given to learners to test the learning outcomes and the competence.
Yes. That is very good. Learners test learning competences. I think we are almost looking at the same thing. So let us move to the next question, which was about the purpose. What is the purpose of activity of integration? Feel that? Yes, feel that? Barbara, are you there? We are moving to the second question. Yes? Unmute yourselves and then you tell us what you have. Solomon Asea. Yes, members.
Assessment and application of knowledge.
You are talking about the purpose for assessment and application of knowledge.
It can also help to evaluate the learner's understanding.
Evaluate learners' understanding.
Yes.
I think it is also important in learning.
And I listen from other members so that we can bring up their views to one table and see how best to do it. Hello members, let's unmute and make it interactive a bit.
The members here are not, they are quiet. New curriculum, people need to be participating. Rose, your group has been very difficult.
People are not participating.
Hey.
I don't get the issue.
But you should be able to ask them a question. Don't just tell them that we should participate. You should ask a question. Yes. We were mainly comparing the old and the new, the old way of assessment and then activity. That's what we were doing, but it's fine. We are actually getting back to the plenary. I hope they have given you they gave you some points.
Not at all. One person only rests on
It's okay.
Maybe I can have an input, madam. Should I have an input? Hello?
Yes.
I can say the old curriculum, it would compare learners, but in the new curriculum, the learner is taken as an individual.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, please. Can we get another one contributing?
Okay, members, welcome back from from the discussion. It was actually over 10 minutes. I normally give 5. Okay, so members, we are now going to get to, I want to hear from you. What did the members say in your groups regarding the activity of integration? And we are doing a comparison of the activity of integration in the new curriculum and the old curriculum, the current or the old curriculum, the type of assessment. Are we happy that end of term exams are being scrapped? Or we still think the old way is better? Okay, so I'm going to start with group number 1. What did your members say are the key things when they talk about activity of integration? What did the members say? What points did the members raise? Mr. Njavire, were you in group 1?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
So the first question was about and how we understand the activity of integration. Members have suggested several options, but we say that an activity given to assess the achievement of learners at the end of a given chapter. To see what the learners have achieved, their competences, and so on. And it summarizes, it gives a summary of what has been covered in a given chapter, which is not the case with the current curriculum of senior 2 and above. Then when it comes to the purpose, one of the purposes of activity of integration, one is to evaluate the learner's understanding, how the learners grasp the concept and so on. Then also to identify the skills that have been attained after that given chapter has been facilitated. Then it also helps in identifying gaps for improvement, which may call for remedial teaching. It helps to identify the weaknesses that are by the learners such that we can improve on them through having a remedial lesson. Then members say that it also helps in demonstrating the competencies of the learners. The learners can demonstrate their competence in doing a particular activity. Then it also helps, or it contributes to the final mark of assessment, especially when it comes to national examination. Then the similarities, there are not so many, and the differences, but the major similarity here is that they both involve assessment. We assess, but the level at which we assess may differ. This one is more of assessment for learning, but they all involve what? Assessment. The difference comes in the grading. Here in the current senior one, the CBC, a given, in terms of grading, students do not compete against each other, but they compete against a given criteria set. So once the criteria has been set, it does not affect the performance of the learner. So grading is independent of the learner's understanding. That is what we discussed in our
Thank
group.
you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, group number 2.
Thank you. Though somehow my phone is about to black out, but for group number 2, we've looked at the activity of integration as that activity that we forward to students to assess their achievement at the end of every chapter and every activity that is given. Then this activity of integration as the functions why, or the roles why we give it out, it contributes one to the final assessment. It prepares learners for the world of work. It helps these learners to evaluate, it helps us as facilitators to evaluate the skills, the concepts that have been attained by these learners. Then it also helps us to see the mixed abilities and involvement of these learners as we work towards achieving a certain goal as we set, as we teach. Then, and most of these, as we've talked about them, the first group has also discussed the same way we discussed them. And lastly, I can give the comparison between the Old Testament, old way of teaching, old assessment, and the new test assessment, where I'm saying this, the new assessment, testing and assessing individual basis of learners as they try to achieve and succeed in their education. Then another thing we've tried to say that is not that the other than what the first group has talked about is end of term exams, where we see the other one having been there for the whole of for every after every given period of time, like we've been having 3 months, which makes up a term. This time around, we are always going to do it on after every chapter. So we won't have those exams at all. Thank you. I submit.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that. And yeah, okay. So those are the points that you have raised. So this is encouraging that you people already have ideas about the activity of integration. Okay, so now this illustration here shows what happens with an activity of integration. So in the new curriculum, you are going to have learners. For example, let me open here a book. Members, you can go to a website called senior1.org. On senior1.org, you will be able to get books. You can get them from senior1.org. You can also get them from NCDC. Let me just show you something here, NCDC /publications. But you see with websites, sometimes something can happen. So I was checking shortly and it was not opening. Yeah, but you can also download them from other websites, senior1.org. They are put here some library. When you go to notice board, you'll see syllabuses. You'll see syllabuses. Let me first go back. You'll see syllabuses, and you'll also see learners' books. I'm using and I'd forgotten I'm using Airtel bundle, which only allows me to use Zoom. So when I click on these links, they are not opening until I switch to the internet. But you can be able to download. So I downloaded one of the books for CRE, and I'm going to be sharing with you a few things from that book, some few reflections from that book. Okay, so let me share again the entire screen. I don't know why it is not sharing the entire screen as I'm sharing it. Okay, so are you able to see the book here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a book, a learner's book. In the new curriculum, all the learners are going to be, there are books which are being vetted by NCDC. These prototypes are going to get out of use, but there are some books that they have already worked on. They just need publishing. Only that recently in the news, I was seeing government was having challenges with money for now production, but the books have been created, the final versions. And I participated in revising those books and vetting them. So these prototypes here were supposed to be used just for the time of the training. They were created hurriedly so that we had something as a prototype as we rolled out. But the final books are going to be published by publishing companies, not NCDC itself. They are going to be published by companies like Longman, publishing companies that you hear about. So they have already edited them, and the others are very good as compared to these prototypes. So the plan for government is to supply these books, government of Uganda, not for sale, to all schools, government and private. So when a learner comes to class, there's a book to guide the learner. They will follow the similar format. Now, when you open this book, there is the first chapter here. With the other first day, we looked at linkage of the book, syllabus and the book. So here there will be a chapter, and the learning outcomes are listed there and the keywords. And there is an introduction. And I don't know who can remind me, what did we say this introduction contains? Which is in the syllabus. What did you say in this introduction? What does that introduction clarify? It is a paragraph which expounds on what? It's something which is in the syllabus book, which is expounded here in the introduction of every chapter. Anyone who remembers that? We discussed that on day one, yes?
It is the competency.
The competency, thank you. So the competency, if you go to a syllabus book like this one, there is somewhere where there is a competency in the syllabus book. So the competency is going to be, expounded there. So here there is only that I've opened a different syllabus and a different learner's book. Yeah, but here, what is here in the competency, when it comes to the learner's book, it is going to be described in here. Now, here in the learner's book, they don't write there the word competency. No, they just put their introduction. Okay, so now after that, there are activities. And these activities, they use pictures, they use different things. They don't just come and they put content. They can put probing questions. For example, they are saying, do you know that worship is an old practice? They don't just use like the old format. They make sure that they appeal to the learner's mind. So we have the activities here. So in this chapter, this is a chapter on worship. So we have activity 1, identifying forms of worship. Then we have a purpose of worship. Read the poem. Why should we worship God? So we have some of these questions. So as you ask these learners, the learners should be able to raise the answers through the discussions and through the research. Yeah, we don't just come and just keep giving them answers. We appeal to them. We give them the stimulus material. So we have several activities here. We put there those figures. Then we tell them to go to the Bible or whichever reference in our subjects. I saw a lot of learners using the. Then at the end of the chapter, we can have an activity of integration. But sometimes the chapter may be long. So sometimes it is allowed to have more than one activity. You could be having a very long chapter in that it is difficult for you to integrate the entire chapter in one activity. The word integrate is a mathematics word, means to sum up. So you can decide to give an activity of integration midway the chapter, and then you have another one at the end. It depends, but ideally you could have one activity of integration. So this is an activity of integration. It is telling learners, read the situation of integration and perform the task that follows. And there is a scenario. Wilson is a farmer. So there are a few things, and there's also a picture being called support. I'm going to come back to that. Let me first go back to my presentation. So what I wanted to highlight here is we have these things here. The activities, tools, support materials. We are going to give learners different things to do during that chapter when we are teaching it. After all these things within a chapter, they are going to be integrated, and they will contribute to the competency of that particular chapter. So at the end of the day, we want learners to understand what worship is. So whatever we do, the pictures, the passages, the stories, the questions, the activities, the research activities, and others. So we have the support materials we give them. They will be able to drive towards the competency, which is there, and which is a statement which summarizes what learners are supposed to achieve in that chapter. So the activity of integration should enable the learner to demonstrate the competency stated in the chapter introduction. So I labored to open the learner's book there because I wanted you to know that the chapter introduction is what contains the competency. Remember, is that okay? Okay. The activities of integration combined contribute in a term will contribute 20% to national assessment. That is one of the groups said that the activities here, they contribute to national assessment. They will not just end at the report card level. They will go up to the competency. Okay, now there is this activity here. We are not going to do it now because we are on Zoom, but in the physical trainings of NCDC, which we have been doing, we have been given like 30 minutes during this session to go into the syllabus book, the learner's book, and the teacher's guide. So these 3 documents, you need the 3 documents. And you need these 3 to refer to them when you are developing your activity of integration. And track the presentation of the topics in these documents. So that's why I opened here the learner's book, teacher's guide. You should have the 3 for a particular subject. Then there's how do the learning outcomes contribute to the achievement of the competency? So that is a very good question. How do the learning outcomes contribute to the achievement of the competence? Maybe let us try to look at this. I'm going to give you another activity that you are going to do later on, and you will submit to Google Classroom. Yeah, but let me first let us first look at this. So here we are looking at we have the learning outcomes. So let us first go back here. So in this is the learner's book. So we have, these are the learning outcomes. So the Let me, I don't know if I have the CRE syllabus here. Let me see. I don't know whether I have the syllabus of CRE. Oh, let me see which one I can open. Okay, so I'll need to download. Anyway, it's fine. Let us. Let me try to download one of these. Let me try to download a set, because I want us not to just talk. We need to be able to share. But maybe before, as I continue, as I download it here, I want someone to tell me what you think. How do the learning outcomes contribute to the achievement of the competency? And how can you use the learning outcomes to develop a scenario? So when you are giving an activity of integration, as we are going to see, don't just ask question. Give a scenario under which then you'll ask background information, then learners can be able to, then you can be able to pose them the questions that you want them to do. Okay, so let me get someone to share something on that. What do you think about that, the scenario, and also the learning outcomes and the competence? How do the learning outcomes contribute to the competence? That is the question that I'm having. You can put up a hand and you share. Okay. Yeah, members, we are going to be ending at 5:30, but we shall have covered it, because I'm going to also show you some of these sample activities of integration. But let us share. What do you think about components of activity of integration? How about call it a scenario? Then the learning outcomes. How do we get a scenario basing on the learning outcomes? How do we come up with a scenario? When these books come, you're not supposed to just give those activities in those books only. We should be creating our own activities. Those ones in the book will just be samples. Just like in mathematics, when you have that exercise in that textbook, it doesn't mean that you should only be giving those questions of that exercise. You can even formulate your own question right from the teaching experience in class. Okay. Maybe let me, Mr. Kasule.
Yes, Rogers.
Hey, I wanted you to just have something to say about what we are talking about here, about the learning outcomes and the competency and the scenario.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Rogers, where I am, I can't really make any submission. I'm in some kind of a noisy place around here. Let me see if I can get some quiet place.
Okay, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, other members, you are still, okay, let me just continue then, since we shall, let us first continue, because we are also trying to redeem time. I wanted to do to give you an interlude so that you can be able to share. Okay, so let me first go to this other second slide. I'm going to come back to that activity. So here we are having the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are listed in a chapter. There are several learning outcomes. If you go to the syllabus book, you'll see, let me go to this one of biology. So the learning outcomes are normally listed here. So these are the learning outcomes. So we have introduction to biology, and then we have biology. The competency is that the learner should be able to understand what biology is. that biology is the study of life and that all living organisms experience common life processes. And appreciate that biology is the study of life and then life processes are common to all living things. So these two are the learning outcomes. Now, out of those learning outcomes, biology is the study of life. So we have a number of learning activities here. So they are telling learners that in pairs, discuss and report the understanding of the term biology. So the learners should be able to discuss based on their knowledge from P7. So for them to discuss, don't just tell them. For them to discuss, it means you will have to find a way of probing them, of giving them some pointers so that they can come up with a discussion which can come up with some deduction. So don't just go and start defining the whatever. So we have several activities here. So this is chapter 1. So we have this and we have this. So these 3 learning activities are at the end of chapter 1. Okay. So topic cells. So this is topic introduction to biology. So at the end of this chapter, you have to come up with a scenario which is going to touch and guide these learners. Let me first proceed here. So the scenario is what is going to lead them to the problem. Okay, so we are having translating knowledge to performance ability levels. In life, we perform at different levels, hence the difference in individual abilities. So when assessing activity of integration, learners are placed in different categories. So we have the basic, moderate, and accomplished. And these standard levels are a translation of performance standards, prior set, with the descriptors. So we have some descriptors. And these are the descriptors. So we have what we call the basic, means that few learning outcomes have been achieved, but not sufficient for overall achievement. Moderate means that the learning outcomes have been achieved enough for overall achievement, whereas accomplished means that most or all learning outcomes have been achieved with ease. Now, when these are the levels, the performance levels that we are going to be using when we are assessing the learners in this curriculum. So, like I said, there is no 0. And by the way, these are not marks. These ones here, they are descriptors and identifier. Actually, we have the identifier. The identifier is this 1, the 2, and the 3. Those are the identifiers. Then the descriptor is this whole thing, that few learning outcomes achieved are not sufficient for overall achievement. So these ones are the 3 performance levels for the learners. You are going to get it well. We are going to have on the same thing. So the components of an activity of integration, which I already talked about, there is what we call a problem or scenario. There is the instruction or expected output, and then there are support materials, resources. So those 3 are supposed to be there when you are making an activity of integration. So let me go back to the other book. Okay, so we are having this book here. So we have these activities. So we are having the activity of integration, which is here. So we have the story. It is saying, read the situation of integration and perform the task as follows. So I want to get one person to read for me this story. I want us to understand this scenario and we connect it to the learning outcomes of this particular chapter. Let me get someone. Mr. Njavile Peter.
Yes.
Read for me here.
Wilson is a farmer with a large plantation of coffee and dairy farm. For the last 2 years, he has been enjoying good harvest. The people around the village have turned his plantation and the farm into a model for them to learn from. Suddenly, everything went wrong when the heavy rain set in and hailstorms destroyed the coffee plantation. A few weeks later, the animals
suffered a strange disease caused by bad weather and died one after the other. Your family made a decision to give support to Wilson. That is the story.
Okay, thank you. So that is the story, similar to the story of Job, who was very prosperous and then his things were eaten up. Then for support, they have put a picture of the animals so that a learner can visualize the scenario. Then in the instruction, they are saying, using your knowledge of worship, explain what the farmer's reaction would be in relation to trusting in God. Propose 4 ways in which Wilson needs to be supported to remain faithful. With a specific reference to the Bible, suggest what you can do to help Wilson, and then write a prayer of worship that Wilson can use in such circumstances. So as you can see here, with specific reference to the Bible, so even I have even been talking about Job and all that. Yeah, so with the activity of integration, you should have a scenario. You should be able to have a context. Context is the situation of integration. And then it should be in line with your learning outcomes, which are there also in the book at the beginning. They are here. Identify the forms of worship, appreciate worship, relate Christian teachings of worship. So the Wilson needs really to worship God and should be able to relate it to the Bible. Yeah, the Christian teachings. So when you are setting your activity, you should be able to think of that. Okay, so there's another example here. This one is from ICT. I'm going to give you several examples, by the way, at this stage. Let me show you from different subjects so that you can be able to be guided very well. So here they are saying, compare the activity of integration with the sample provided below to check its appropriateness. So for example, your class is planning an end of year party at the end of the term, scheduled to take place in the main hall on 21st November this year, starting at 8:30 a.m. So this is the context. This is the context which we are going to use to integrate. And then we are telling the learners to add process a letter. So in ICT, we teach learners Microsoft Word, which is for typing documents. But in the old curriculum, we have basically been giving them papers to type. And then here, without having really a scenario or whatever, we just tell them to type, to underline these things here, underline, bold, italic, and all those things. They just do documents for the sake of doing documents. But here, we want the learners to come up with their own. In the other curriculum, we have been giving them what to type. But here you tell the learners, they create their own document. So, word processor later. So that one up there is the context or problem. And then this one in here is the instruction or expected output. Then you can also put some support material. For example, you can put a picture. But here, I want you to see here, we have told the learners with the emphasis to font paragraph. At least we have guided them a bit. Because the learners should know what is expected of them. Otherwise, they may not do what you expect. And you'll mark, because you want the learners to produce something. And you'll mark something, you'll mark them wrong, and yet you never guided them. So your whatever should be able to guide them well. Okay, so I have some activity of integration. Activity of integration. I don't know whether did I have them on my computer here? Okay, there are some activities of integration that I have. Let me see them here. That I wanted us to refer to as well. You are going to find them on a website called Shareability. So on Shareability, we are going to send you these links. We have been doing some activities of integration with it under Identify e-learning project. So for example, there's the senior 3 story. No, there's let me see, only that my internet here was not allowing to download. Okay, I should do, okay, it's fine. I'm going to connect. I need to make sure that I display some of them for you to see. I'm going to download them using a phone and I put them on the computer here. Okay, so let me first proceed here. Okay, so this is an example of the old curriculum where we're having a question like this. We're just giving learners find the LCM of 3 and 4. And in the new curriculum, we are telling the learners we give them a problem. But this problem does similar. So we are appealing to higher order thinking skills in line with Bloom's taxonomy. This question here, Musa's family gets meals every 3 hours. Joanne's family gets meals every 4 hours. And on some day, the two families got meals at the same time. When did they get meals at the same time? So this one requires application of what? Of knowledge. But this other one here was just recall formula, LCM, and then you get the answer. But this one needs them to apply. So we are going to be using, when we are setting our activities of integration, we are going to be, we are supposed to use the, questions which require application of knowledge, and where we are having the context, scenario. We don't just ask questions directly. Yeah, so that is what is there according on that. Okay, so
Rogers.
Yes.
Shortly, though I'm in some crowded place, but let me just go through this corridor. Maybe it's a little bit quiet. Okay. I want to tell us members that when we are developing an activity of integration, number one, let us not develop statements which are so long. Now, the longer the statement becomes, somehow becomes confusing to the learner. Even you yourself interpreting it at the end of the day becomes a little bit hard. So when we are developing the activities of integration, let us make sure that the activity is so brief, concise, and precise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Mr. Kasule, thank you for that input. Okay, so yeah, members, is there any other person who has a question at this stage or any comment regarding the activity of integration?
Rogers, I have a question. Now, these kids are going to do this for 4 years. Then what does UNEB look like?
Okay.
The final exam, the one that takes 80%.
Okay, so we are going to be looking at reporting learner achievement, and we are going to be looking at UNEB issues actually. I think that is going to be on Monday next week. That's when we are going to have that session. Yeah, but in the final exam of UNEB, they are still going to ask learners not these questions of recall. If these learners have been getting the competencies and have been actively participating if they have been actively participating in learning and they have got the competencies. They have been doing the presentations, they have been doing the essays, they have been doing the debates, they have been doing the products, the paintings, the drawings, the projects. When learners have been doing those things, so what UNEB is going to do, UNEB is going to set these questions, but when they are more of application questions. I don't know whether Mr. Dumba, you are getting me. So the questions are going to be still, whereby if a learner really attended for since senior one, he can't fail. If the learner knows how to speak, knows English, knows mathematics, the things are here. They are not just for the sake of cramming formulas, but the learners have the competences. So UNEB is going to be doing that. But they will have what we call the assessment framework. Maybe let me just give you, let me share with you the assessment framework. I don't know whether I have it here. I think this search everything of mine is disturbing me. I need to download that assessment framework and I show you. It is on shareability, and also, so in the assessment framework, NCDC has put there the guidelines of how the final exam is going to be. How the final exam is going to be has been clearly put in what we call the assessment framework. And the questions, how the questions will be and all that, they have tried to put that there. So when you download it, I'm going to send a link. Let me share using my phone here. Because my phone, I'm using a different network. Mr. Dumba.
Yes, Rogers.
You are the one who gave me the advice of buying Airtel bundles, but my friend, I can't do anything else apart from Zoom. So
I did not advise Airtel bundles. I advised you to buy Learn from Home bundles. Okay, so members, I'm sharing with my phone here, and I'm going to share with you a link in your chat. You can download this. But I think I've also put this on shareability. So I wrote this article when we had gone for a new curriculum training. So when we went there, so we have this. Yeah, so at the bottom, I put some resources. There is a sample scheme of work and also a lesson plan. I'm going to ask you to download these and you create a scheme of work for senior one, term one. You will need, that's going to be the assignment you're going to, because in the next lesson we shall be discussing scheme of work. So by the time you will come, when you have already done it. Okay, so I'm going to send you this link, you read it through. Now at the bottom, I put some materials. So there is what you call assessment framework. Okay. So Mr. Dumba, if you have internet, you can try to download it for me. I can tell you to share it afterwards. There are a number of documents here. There is assessment framework, there is implementation guidelines, and there are other documents there. So when you download that, assessment framework, it has your answers to your question, Mr. Dumba, what you were talking about. It's a green book. And I scanned it myself using my phone and I put it here. So look at a subject like English. So you scroll down, you read through the type of assessment, how they will do and everything. And then criterion referenced assessment, reporting learner achievement. This book is more detailed. And all these things here as we are going to be doing them. So I never scanned the whole book. I was interested in ICT. So from page 16, I went to ICT. So at ICT, for example, they are saying that there are those competencies and the paper, the examination format, the paper is going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes.
And candidates will take both papers. There's also be a practical, and for the theory, so the questions are going to be really testing COSIVA. So you shall have knowledge and understanding, skills and values. The questions are going to balance. So they're not going to be these questions of, so you can say here, yeah, even there are two types of assessment. There is the assessment for the world of work, where we are going to have we are going to have a computer application skill, computer maintenance technician, and a database administrator. I never scanned the entire thing, but this one gives you a hint. Mr. Domba, have I answered your question? It gives a hint on how the exams will be.
You are trying to answer a question, but I have another one.
Hey, you first wait now. You first wait. Okay, you fire your question.
My question is, what happens to a learner who goes to who shifts a school and goes to a school where the subject he was doing in this school is not done in the other school?
Okay, learners are going to be at senior and senior 2. They have their compulsory subjects and then their elective subjects. So in all schools, the compulsories are there. And learners are going to be given what you call LINs, similar to NIN numbers. So index numbers are going to be given by senior 1. And the learners are going to continue with those index numbers, which are called LINs throughout. They are going to continue with them. So when a learner goes to the other school, you just ask him for his LIN, and then he continues. All the marks are going to be submitted every year, not that the school will keep all the results. No. Learners are going to be registered in senior 1, and their marks are going to start being submitted to UNEB early enough. They are going to be submitted to UNEB by senior 1 third term. Those results should be submitted and the LINs should be there. So if a learner goes to senior 2 in another school, his results are ready with UNEB, and the other school will just add on what the other one ended.
My question, Rogers, is for the elective subjects.
On the elective ones?
Yes.
Yeah. So those are, because even if the marks are given of the other old school, the learner should really go to a school where the electives was offering. If you are doing ICT, then you go to another school with ICT. But otherwise,
Rogers,
if it's not the case, then
Rogers,
they will look at the compulsories. And the learner may have to, if he was doing 2 electives, because at senior 1, senior 2, the learners do more than they do more electives. So if you can drop the other elective which was not available. Yeah, so that is.
I think we need an answer from NCDC, because you are a victim of switching school. You yourself. I'm also
and now this is the example. This is what I'm telling you here. I'm representing NCDC as a master trainer. When you got from one school, because there is nothing like a perfect situation in the world. So if you look at the current curriculum menu, how many electives does a learner do in senior 2? How many electives is supposed to choose?
Over 2, over 3.
Yeah. So if you go into another school whereby one of the electives not there, or 2 of them, then you at senior 3 you will drop those, you remain with only 1 elective, and then you continue with that one, because that is what happens. Okay, members, let me. I'm going to be summarizing here, but I wanted to look at some of these other activities. So these activities, we were doing them with the Edify e-learning project, and they are already on shareability, and we're looking at the situation of activity of integration. Yeah, so this is an example of an activity of integration from chemistry. The topic is using materials, and the competence here was the learner to be able to explore how materials are used and relate these uses to their molecular structures. So that was the competence in chemistry. Okay, so there is a scenario. You have been chosen to be part of the committee that is going to lead a project for building a community hall for your hometown. The people in the community are expected to gather materials for the construction of the walls and roof, and the roof similar to the picture below. So you have a scenario. So you task the learners, you tell them that, okay, they are going to construct. You have taught them about materials. So you want them to apply. So you ask them a question here. That since there are many people in the community, they will need to deal with waste. So you are giving the learner pointers. You are giving the learner pointers. Just like in the other one, we gave the other one in the slides, the learners were given a pointer. So there is need to sensitize the people in your hometown ahead of this project regarding the needed materials. So here, the task with the learners to make a written speech for a sensitization message in the community. So this is creation. This is at the top level of Bloom's taxonomy. Learners have to think, and then they create a product. Yeah, so that is the one. I have others here. I wanted to just pass through quickly here. So when you are giving an activity of integration, let me hope they will open because they were, okay, this one has opened. So this is a topic, the Indian Ocean. So like we said, activity of integration is at the end of every chapter. So it is at a topic level. It's no longer end of term exam, it is end of topic. So you put there, you can put there the topic and what the learners were supposed to achieve, and then you can go ahead. But yeah, you can be able to go ahead and then you put a scenario. So in this case, the competence was by the end of this topic, the learner should be able to give reasons why people carry out modern slave trade and solutions to the modern slave trade in East Africa. So modern slave trade, that was the topic. This is history. So, and then you have a scenario here. Let me get, yeah, okay, we have a scenario. You can see our time is out. So here, we are having they are saying that an elder was discussing with his older son about slavery and how he suffered. He said the outsiders had invaded Africa. And there was the Katuma's trade, Indian Ocean trade. So you are giving learner already a scenario. These some of these things already as they have learned about them, they have been researching about them in the topic. The son got concerned and told the father that every day the youth are faced with a similar challenge. So write an article that can be published in the paper, sensitizing the general public about the reasons for the emergence of the modern slave trade, and also suggest the possible solutions that can be used. Now, these samples, I'm not saying they are 100% perfect, but they are demonstrating the structure of the activity of integration that is required. But again, we have to make sure that our task cannot be done without the scenario. Don't have whereby even if a learner covers, like for example, in this case, this may not be very perfect. So if a learner just doesn't read the rest of the activity and he just comes and write an article that can be published in the paper sensitizing the general public about the reasons for the emergence of slave trade, and also suggest possible reasons that can be used to end modern day slavery in East Africa. This is a learner someone can do this without even reading what the scenario was and the support. So that means this activity was not well set. So what you have to do is what would be a better way of let me ask someone, what would be the better way of asking a question which cannot be done without someone understanding the scenario? Let me ask someone here too. You see, ideally, I was supposed to tell you to do these scenarios and I critique them, but because of the nature of the time we are having, I want us to just critique some of these activities which I'm having here. Let us get someone. What do you think would better? So here we have a narration of an elder and the son talking, the elder telling the learner about what slave trade was, and there's a picture here about modern day slavery and entire children going to the Arab world. Yeah, that is what is there. Now the task, if I see this task, it's as if I can even do this task without having read the above scenario. So that is one thing that we should not forget. Is there someone getting what I'm saying? How would this question better be, the task, how would the task be set so that it is working well, the way I'm saying? Grace, are you hearing what I'm saying? Hilary.
I'm hearing only that I'm still internalizing.
Have you got the last point I just talked about of the question? The task should not be when it can be done by someone who has not even read the scenario and the support. So that is what will make it a good quality activity of integration. I don't know whether members are getting me. Let me open another one here. This is of entrepreneurship. You try to read for me this scenario, Grace.
I try to do what?
You read for me the scenario. You start reading first read the competency.
Okay, the competency. At the end of this topic, the learner should be able to select a business opportunity from the environment and conduct a market survey.
The learner should be able to select a business opportunity from the environment and conduct it. That is the competence according to the syllabus. Okay, now read for me the scenario.
The scenario. Okay. Mukasa Tom is a resident of Bwaise village in Kawempe municipality. During this lockdown, he is at home without any income generating project. However, the community is generating a lot of rubbish, scrap that litters a large section of the society. The photo below was taken from Mukasa's neighborhood. That is the scenario. That's what I can see from the screen you're sharing. Okay, below it, as an aspiring entrepreneur, you have been requested to use your creative mind to advise Mukasa Tom on how he can generate business ideas out of the community's situation. That is the scenario.
Okay, now let me ask the members. Let us look at now the question required down there, the question. What's the first question?
The first question is saying, write a letter to Mukasa advising on several business ideas he can take on.
Okay, now, is it possible for someone to do the question there direct without having read the scenario and do it according to what the teacher wants?
Of course, he cannot without reading the scenario and without looking at the picture.
Yeah, so, but if you set your activity of integration whereby the question alone is all the curriculum format, where even if someone doesn't have a scenario, you can answer. If for example, we had all this scenario and then we come and say, give examples of business ideas that can be done in slums. So without mentioning Mukasa, without someone can use his other knowledge, maybe what, and he gives the answers. So that means this, you have just wasted the paper to make the scenario and the support material. I don't know whether you are getting what I'm saying. And also, when we are giving activity of integration, we should ask questions which make learners to create products. Products can be a letter. So here we have there are two products here. We want learners to create a letter and also to create a questionnaire. So there are very many products that can be created. We don't just ask learners that, what is this? Define this. No. Tell them to do something, to create something. So there are many things. Let me, so I'm going to be, so let me look at another example here. So for chemistry, so when these activities of integration, the quality, So let us look at this question. Task number on chemistry. Miss Adumba. Miss Adumba, are you hearing me? Okay, he's not hearing me. Madam Barbara, are you hearing me?
Mr. Adumba is not there.
Hello?
Yes, Madam Barbara.
Yes, please.
Can you read for me this task, the task down there? Can you read for me?
It says that prepare a written speech of your sensitization message for the community.
Can someone do that question? Okay. Members. Sorry, I was asking, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello? You are hearing me? My laptop has gone off there. You are hearing me, eh?
Yes.
So have you got my point about components of an activity of integration? You should have a scenario, should have a support material, it should have
the instruction and then the product.
It seems we have lost Peter. Or Roger. Rogers, you're not clear.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm having some. I'll switch to the phone here, but I was actually about to conclude, members. I know our time has gone. Yeah, so that is what I was sharing there about the. But let me see if I can get a spot. I'm just trying to get a spot for a better network of 4G because my power has gone here. So I just want to conclude the discussion. So remember, if you have any comments on those remarks, you can be able to share, you can give in your comment as we wrap up. I'm going to post some of these activities of integration, and I'm going to send you the slides so that you can be able to connect, and then you can be able to have this done. Okay, so there are some colleagues who were attending this in a group. I don't know whether they are still on.
Rogers.
Grace, you have your hand up?
Yes. I have a question about these activities of integration. Are you getting me? Hello? Yes, my question is, these activities of integration, are they going to be designed by the teachers, or the books that will be coming will have sample activities of integration that we the teachers will use or,
Yes.
or both will happen?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Grace.
my question. Yes, Peter.
Yes.
I'm asking about the activities of integration. Who is going to be?
Grace, to answer you, now if you look at some of the prototypes we have, they
Yes.
already have some samples of the activities of integration. Now, the final copies might have, actually they will have some activities of integration, but it's about us. We can improve on what is in the book, or we can create new content about the activity of integration.
Yes, because why I have asked that question, I as a teacher may not be satisfied with the assessment, the extent of assessment that an activity of integration in a book may give, according to what I'm interested in assessing my learners. So if I can do it, well and good, with the ideas you've given us. Thank you.
Yeah, that's how it is. And remember, members, it is not mandatory that the activities of integration we have in the books, that we must focus ourselves on to that. You can even, from a topic, you can have more than one activities of integration. So if you have time, you can keep on assessing your learners. It is not mandatory that whatever thing we have, we should tie ourselves onto that. We can also create our own ideas.
Then also to supplement on what Bernard is saying, it's like when we have these activities of integration in the books and you transfer them exactly the way they are, we are shifting. Like nowadays in the new curriculum where people just shift questions and you realize that some learners have come across those questions without modifying them. So as teachers, it is our task to sit down, analyze what we have covered with the learners, and then you sit down and come up with an activity of integration that has all the components. But that activity of integration must be in line with the learning outcomes which the learners are supposed to achieve. So we are supposed to keep on setting as many activities of integration in different scenarios with different support and so on. So we should not rely on these activities of integration in the books. After all, they are prototypes. They are not fully what? Accepted. So we can sit down as teachers, the way we sit down and set a question paper in this knowledge-based curriculum. You analyze the situation, then you set a very good activity of integration, you as a teacher, which can help the learner.
Thank you very much for your submission. Now, actually, if you are doing a departmental thing, this one works out better because teacher A can bring out an activity of integration. You test that. Teacher B can also bring her or his own activity of integration, and you check out something like that. So members, since Rogers is I think having some poor network, if there are any other issues, we can bring them on and we see how to handle them. He's back.
Yeah, I'm now on top of some hill here.
Don't fall.
Hey, so I've come here at some top of some outside with my laptop. I hope you can see me. And I've switched the network. Now, members, I didn't want to leave this hanging. We are going to do, as we already, and
Rogers,
are you able to see my screen or I've gone off again?
I can see your screen.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
It is okay, Rogers, now. But
So,
you put in slideshow, yeah, that's okay.
So one, the main emphasis was an activity of integration should have a context or a problem or scenario should have the instruction or expected output, mainly asking learners to come up with products. And there are very many products that learners can create. So you would brainstorm them, but because of time, let me just mention like 10 of them. Learners can do a drawing, they can do an essay, they can do a letter, they can make, it can be a write-up, a simple write-up, it can be a song, it can be, so when you are asking them, like in CRE, it can be a prayer. Yeah, so it can be a computation. So it can be a graph. It can be something. It can be a map in geography. So it can be a poem in English. It can be a drawing in art. It can be, there are many. There's a time where somewhere where we brainstormed and we had more than 20 different products. So when you ask the learners, let me hope I'm not having an echo. Am I having a big echo? No. Okay. So when you ask the learners, ask them to come up with something. So like in these activities I was sharing here, are you seeing the activity?
Yes.
Yeah, there was here it was a speech. Yes. Here for history, it was an article. Here a sketch map, a report. So for the learners, like in geography here, they were supposed to go, it was a question asking them about field work. So they can come up with a report. It can be a presentation. It can be, so a letter, it can be a questionnaire, it can be anything. So you come up with something that will be your product. And in the next lesson on which we are going to be discussing about the assessment grid, we are going to be looking at the output, and then we look at what we call a basis of evaluation. And then that basis of evaluation, we are going to evaluate it and looking at what we call the race criteria. So in the next lesson, in the next session, we are going to be discussing those things of race. How do we assess the activity of integration? Okay, so so basically we are going to be looking at that in that regard. So I gave the example of this word processing a letter. So here we wanted a word processed document as the output. Okay, so I also talked about the issues of high order thinking skills, not direct questions. And this activity, you're going to try to do it. So you're going to go to Shareability and download some of these activities, look at them, and then you can create your own. And it will help us. So competence-based assessment strives for higher order thinking skills for purposes of making use of learned knowledge and evaluating the application of knowledge in new scenarios. Application of knowledge. So one competence can apply in more than one topic or chapter and levels, but there is need to stretch performance to the most high level. So you can have an activity of integration when it is covering that particular competency. And I also talked about a case where you may have two activities of integration to cover a particular competence. A chapter can have one or more activities of integration, not necessarily one. Then competency-based assessment provides detailed information about the learner and builds confidence for them to master the skills. And the activity of integration is one of the assessment approach which enables learners to display their competence. Okay, so that is all for today. The assignment, I'm going to post it on Google Classroom. I had not written it here very well, but it's just going to be about you to download some of those activities of integration, which I've been sharing, and then you will create your own for a topic that you're going to choose. And you're also going to scheme. You're going to scheme. So today we have been looking at the end of chapter activity of integration.
Next, we are going to be looking at the evaluation grid and reporting learners' achievements. So this evaluation grid is also still looking at the activity of integration. How do you mark it? So we shall understand more about when we are
actually,
doing that.
Rogers.
Yes.
I'm sorry to come in. Members, at the evaluation grid and reporting learners' achievement, that's where we need to put our main emphasis. Why? Because this is the exact thing we are going to be doing in classes. This is the exact thing when we are assessing, when we are looking at the activity of integration to come out with the exact thing that we need. Evaluation grid and reporting learners' achievement. This is where we have to put our emphasis. So I request us tomorrow, please let us try and be there. We attend.
Yeah, Mr. Bernard. Unfortunately, tomorrow we are having some activity called website camp. So it means me and some other team members are not there. So what you have decided?
Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Even on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, we are not around, me and you. We have an engagement up country. I've not yet told you.
Okay, but so we can see if we can have tomorrow.
We shall announce. Let us first make preparations and then we shall announce.
But we have some work. I want to send you members some good work, because before we look at these things, we need to do the scheme such that we don't come here and we are discussing things which we have not. So I'm going to put like 3 assignments. One on scheme of work, and I'm going to send you sample scheme of work. There is that article which I talked about. So on this shareability, when you go there, you'll see, if you search for, let me try to see if it will come now. If you search for scheme of work, you type scheme and then you type that new. A scheme of work of new competence-based curriculum. There is a sample. I already uploaded it. It is here. Sample scheme of work format for the new competence-based curriculum. Okay. This is not something that is difficult. So I would like members to go and download that scheme of work, and you look at differences. So when you have already tried out, so we just discuss the differences, because it is going to be a very common thing. We are going to be doing schemes of work a lot, and we need to send in the correct schemes of work. The old format has changed. The scheme of work, and also there is lesson plan. So you just search for lesson plan. Lesson plan. It is also there on shareability. Also the activities of integration which I've been sharing with you there. You just come and say activity of. You can even just search activity of, 2 words. So we are going to be uploading some of the good activities of integration that people create, so that whenever you want to receive, they are here. Chemistry, entrepreneurship, history, geography. These ones were from Edify, but also we have others which we uploaded from the other NCDC training. There are some other activities down. So you can scroll through. So I'm going to post the links in Google Classroom. Members who are not in the Google Classroom, please. I hope, is there anyone who is not in Google Classroom here on the call? If you are not on Google Classroom, please, you tell us. You can unmute and say, I'm not there. So we have our Google Classroom. You are not there?
I'm not there.
So this Google Classroom, I'm going to post there 3 assignments. One is going to be about the activity of integration with the links to the samples and what you're supposed to have in an activity of integration. And the other point I emphasized that the task should not be doable without someone, whereby if someone covers the scenario, someone can still do that means they wasted the time with your scenario. So the question should not be direct. You should ask a question like, make a report about your findings from the survey as a question. That means the learner should know what the survey was all about.
which is from the scenario. So the questions should be when they are not independent. The questions should be dependent on the scenario and the support. I hope that one was point. Then two, for the scheme of work, this is how it looks like. They have changed in the old curriculum. They were having the content. There was a section for content. So you have a topic content, and then you say, I'm going to teach logarithm and what. But here there's nothing like content. We have the competency instead, the learning outcomes. Then we have the teaching and learning resources. Then the methodology, which is going to help you. So there's nothing like content here. The content is in the activities. So please go and download this sample and make a scheme of work for your subject for only one term, or like you can do like for 4 weeks. You try to do that. If you want to download the books, you can download them from senior1.org or NCDC or Shareability itself also. It has. You just go and click on NCDC tag. There's somewhere where you'll find the word NCDC, and then you on the home page, and you can download. So I think, members, that is a good summary for today. I'm going to post those for you to do the scheme of work. Do it in advance so that we don't waste time. So when we are going to communicate when we are going to have this evaluation grid. We need to this one will take us. There's mathematics here, some serious mathematics, like Mr. Kasule said. Yeah. So there are many other also. But I'm going to try to invite NCDC curriculum specialist to grace our closing ceremony, so that we can fire him questions like Mr. Dumba was firing. Mr. Dumba.
Yes, Roger.
Mr. Dumba, your questions are, we are going to try to make sure that we invite one of the curriculum specialists in our closing ceremony. After even we have finished that other session, we can still organize one at his convenience to come and close for us the training. And we'll ask all those other questions that members could be having. Okay. I think, members, that is all for today. I want to wish you a nice evening. Thank you for persevering up to this point.
Likewise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.